The night was heavy with rain, thick sheets falling from the sky, soaking the dirt road that wound through the small mountain village. Rahim Khan leaned forward on his motorcycle, trying to see through the blur. He had been traveling since morning, his satchel full of lesson books slung over his back, his clothes wet and caked with mud. He was used to the road and to loneliness. For the past 5 years, he had gone from one forgotten village to another, teaching children who had no schools, fixing broken chalkboards, and leaving when his work was done. It was the only life that made sense after he lost his parents during the floods that swallowed his hometown. He no longer sought roots, only places where he could help and then disappear. But that night, something unexpected stopped him. Through the roar of the storm, he heard a sound that sliced through the rain, a child crying. It wasn't the kind of cry that asked for attention. It was desperate, raw, and frightened. He stopped the motorcycle, turned off the engine, and listened. The cry came again, faint but distinct. Rahim hesitated for a moment, then grabbed his lantern and followed the sound. His boots sank into the mud with every step as he moved down a narrow, unpaved lane between houses made of crumbling clay. Under a flickering light, he saw her, a little girl, no older than 10, barefoot, soaked, her small frame shivering violently. She was clutching a torn piece of cloth against her cheek. Her eyes were swollen, her face streaked with tears and rain. "Are you hurt?" Rahim asked, crouching down. The girl shook her head but took his hand with urgency. "Please come," she said between sobs. "They're hurting my mama, please." Rahim's pulse quickened. He didn't ask who they were. He simply followed as the girl led him down a narrow alley that smelled of damp straw and smoke. The houses became smaller, older, nearly collapsing from years of neglect. The rainwater had formed puddles that reflected the faint glow of lanterns. At the end of the alley stood a hut with its door half open. The child hesitated, then whispered, "She's inside." Rahim pushed the door and froze. On the dirt floor lay a woman, unmoving, her body curled in a way that spoke of pain and fear. Her hair had been roughly shorn, patches of her scalp were bleeding. Her face was swollen, one eye completely closed, her lips split. There were bruises along her arms, her wrists tied loosely with a dirty strip of cloth. The room smelled of smoke, blood, and rain-soaked earth. The girl rushed to her, kneeling beside her. "Mama, wake up, please." The woman stirred weakly, opening her uninjured eye. When she saw Rahim, she flinched and tried to cover her face. Her voice was barely audible. Who are you?" "I'm a teacher," Rahim said softly. "I was passing through. Your daughter called me." The woman's breathing was shallow, her words trembling. "You shouldn't be here. They'll come back." "Who did this?" Her lips trembled before she whispered, "My husband's brothers. They said I bring shame. He died last winter. I wouldn't leave the house, so they took everything. My hair. They said a widow should not look proud." Rahim felt the weight of her words settle inside him. He had seen suffering before, but not like this, not cruelty disguised as family duty. He looked around the small room. A single cot overturned, a broken clay jug, a child's shoe half buried in the dirt. Everything reeked of humiliation. He took off his shawl and wrapped it around the woman gently. "You can't stay here," he said. She shook her head, tears spilling. "If I go, they'll take her. She's all I have." The girl clutched her mother's arm tightly. "Mama, please, let's go." Something inside Rahim hardened. The teacher who lived quietly, who avoided getting involved, could not walk away. He lifted the woman into his arms. She was lighter than he expected, fragile as a child. "We're leaving," he said. The woman tried to protest, her voice faint. "You don't know these people. They'll hurt you too. I've already seen enough hurt for one lifetime," he said, and stepped out into the storm. The little girl followed close behind, holding onto the edge of his coat. They walked through the rain, down the muddy road, until they reached the main highway. There, Rahim waved at a passing cart driver who, seeing the injured woman, agreed to take them to the nearby town. By dawn, they reached the small clinic where Rahim sometimes volunteered. The doctor, an elderly woman named Drive, Faria, took one look at Mare, the woman's name, he learned later, and sighed deeply. "This isn't the first time she's been beaten," she said after examining her. But this time, they wanted to destroy her pride, not her body. Rahim waited outside while the doctor cleaned her wounds. The little girl, Rida, sat beside him, her head resting on his arm. She had stopped crying but kept her fingers tightly curled around his sleeve. When the doctor finally came out, Rahim asked quietly, "Will she recover?" She'll live, the doctor said. But what she needs isn't medicine. It's safety. That night, Rahim found them a room to rent at the edge of town, a small, broken space above a shop. He paid a month's rent and left food on the table. The next morning, Mare tried to sit up, her face pale with exhaustion. "You shouldn't have done this," she whispered. "They'll find me. You'll be in danger." "I've been in danger before," Rahim said, sitting by the window. "But never for something that mattered." She looked away, pulling the shawl tighter around her bald head. "They cut my hair to make me hide," she murmured. "I can't even look at myself." Rahim didn't reply. He only said, "Then don't hide. You've done nothing wrong." Days passed quietly. Rahim brought food and medicine each evening after school. He helped Rida with her reading lessons and showed her how to write her name in Urdu. Mare rarely spoke, but she listened when Rahim talked to Rida about courage, about kindness, about not letting others decide one's worth. Slowly, her silence began to crack. One afternoon, Rahim returned from teaching to find her sitting by the window, sewing a torn scarf. The sunlight touched her face, and for the first time, he saw color in her cheeks. "I used to sew clothes for the village women," she said softly, not looking at him. "Maybe I can start again." "You should," Rahim said. "You're good with your hands. You'll stand on your own feet again." She smiled faintly. "People will talk if they see me working again. They'll say a widow should live quietly." Rahim poured her tea, his voice steady. "Let them talk. People who speak of honor often know nothing of it." Her eyes glistened, but she said nothing more. That night, as he prepared to leave, Rida ran up and hugged him. "Good night, sir," she said cheerfully. It was the first time she had smiled since he met her. The whispers began soon after. At the tea stall, men muttered about the teacher and his widow. Some laughed, others sneered, but Rahim ignored them. He had no room in his life for shame invented by small minds. What he saw in Mare was not disgrace, it was resilience. Each day, she grew stronger. Her wounds healed, her courage returned, and she began stitching clothes for neighbors quietly at home. Sometimes, Rahim found dinner waiting for him when he returned, simple lentils, fresh bread, a touch of warmth that reminded him of what he'd lost long ago. He tried not to read too much into it, but in his heart, he knew he had found something rare, a reason to stay. Still, in small towns, peace never lasts long. Rumors travel faster than truth, and envy breeds cruelty. Rahim didn't yet know that the men who once destroyed her life had begun asking questions in the village. They wanted her back, not out of love or guilt, but to reassert control. And when they came, they would not only test Mare's strength but also Rahim's promise to protect her, no matter the cost.